Today we're reading story number 33 from the Gospel Storybook Bible by Marty Machowski. Today's story is God provides food and water for Israel. It's taken from Exodus 16, verse 1 through 17, verse 7, and it's on page 67 of the book. Exodus is found in the Old Testament, and it's the second book of the Bible. Here's the picture to go with today's story on God provides food and water for Israel. Even though God performed many wonders to rescue his people from Egypt, they were quick to forget all that he had done, and even quicker to complain when there was a problem. When they were thirsty, they complained instead of asking the Lord for water. When they were hungry, they said terrible things to Moses like, "You have brought us out into this wilderness to kill the whole assembly with hunger." Exodus 16:3. In spite of their grumbling, the Lord was kind to them and provided water for them to drink. He even gave them special bread from heaven called manna to eat each day. Every morning they gathered enough manna for one day. Any leftover bread would rot and get worms in it. But on the sixth day, God told them to gather a 2-day supply so they could rest on the Sabbath day. God prevented the manna for the Sabbath from rotting and growing worms. So they had 2 days to eat. Moses warned the people when they grumbled. They were really grumbling against the Lord. But people didn't listen. They forgot Moses' warning. After they moved from the place where God first brought the manna, they became thirsty again. And right away, they started quarreling and complaining. They started saying bad things about Moses again, and they asked him, "Why did you bring us up out of Egypt? To kill us and our children?" That was in Exodus 17:3. Moses cried out to the Lord for help. He told the Lord, "The people are almost ready to stone me." The Lord told Moses to take some of the elders of Israel to the rock at Horeb. You might remember this was where God first spoke to Moses, in the burning bush. This time God said, "I will stand before you there on the rock of Horeb, and you shall strike the rock, and water shall come out of it, and the people will drink." Exodus 17:6. Moses did just as the Lord commanded, and sure enough, water flowed from the rock. Plenty for all of God's people and their animals. God could have punished the people for their grumbling because it was wrong. Instead, he told Moses to strike the rock right where the Lord himself stood. Instead of judgment, the people received the blessing of water. In the New Testament, the Apostle Paul tells us that the rock Moses struck is meant to remind us of Jesus. That's in 1 Corinthians 10:4. Instead of striking Israel for their sin, God struck the rock, which represented Jesus Christ. Even way back in the day of Moses, God knew that his salvation would come through the sacrifice of his son, Jesus. Through his story, God gave Israel a hint of how he was going to save his people. Instead of punishing us for our sin, God brought the rod of his judgment on Jesus at the cross. And when God saved Israel and gave them water, he was looking ahead to the sacrifice of his son. When God saves us, he looks back to Jesus on the cross. What is Moses doing in this picture? Where has the water come from? Why does God give water to the people instead of punishing them for their complaining? Tune in next week, to learn more about God's big story. If you're following along at home in your long story short devotional, we're on week 33, and on Monday you can start on day 1.